Events in Birmingham and elsewhere have so increased the cries for equality that no city or state or legislative body can prudently choose to ignore them. The fires of frustration and discord are burning in every city, north and south, where legal remedies are not at hand. Redress is sought in the streets. Next week, I shall ask the Congress of the United States to act, to make a commitment it has not fully made in this century to the proposition that race has no place in American life or law.
Kennedy proposed a new civil rights bill, and movement leaders wanted to make sure he followed through.
Freedom Now movement, hear me.
The civil rights movement had mobilized communities. Now it set out to mobilize a nation. In the summer of 1963, leaders announced plans for a mass march on Washington. Afraid it would become violent, Attorney General Robert Kennedy tried to prevent the march, without success. August 28, 1963. Leaders and supporters of civil rights organizations joined in Washington, D.C. to make a passionate plea for jobs and more than 200,000 people arrived from across the nation for the march from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. It was a triumphant day for A. Philip Randolph, who first proposed such a march in 1941. But as the marchers gathered at the Lincoln Memorial, there was trouble behind the scenes. The White House was upset about a speech that was to be given by John Lewis, national chairman for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
In the first part of the speech, I said something like, we cannot support the proposed bill being introduced or being presented, but it was too late.
And John's speech was the only speech at the March on Washington that criticized the Kennedy administration for lack of civil rights enforcement because the SNCC people were being brutalized in the South.
As the program began on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, Lewis refused to change his speech. Finally, A. Philip Randolph made a personal appeal to the young men from SNCC.
He was 75, and here we were, one-third his age, and, he was asking us to do this for him. He said, I waited all my life for this opportunity. Please don't ruin it. And we felt that for him that we had to make some concessions.
So the three of us, John Lewis, Cortland Cox, and myself, we huddled and sat together, and the rewriting took place at the Lincoln Memorial, and and it was done out of a spirit of unity. We wanted the March on Washington to go forward.
If we do not get meaningful legislation out of this Congress, the time will come when we will not confine our marching to Washington. We will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham. How long can we be patient? We want our freedom, and we want it now.
The speech that captured the nation's attention was the stirring oratory of Martin Luther King.
Let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring in Whitney Capital. When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
In the White House, President Kennedy now saw the march as positive support for his civil rights bill. "18 days later, Birmingham, Alabama. Just before a Sunday morning service, a bomb exploded at the 16th Street Baptist Church where hundreds of children had once gathered to march against police dogs and fire hoses. 15 people were injured. 4 children were killed. The murder of these children shook the nonviolent movement to its core. As the people buried their dead, they sang, "We shall overcome." But in anger and in rage, many wondered how.
We felt like our own children had been killed, and we knew that the activity of the civil rights movement had been involved in generating the kind of energy that brought out this kind of hostility. And we decided that we would do something about it, and we said that we had 2 options. The first one was we felt confident that if we tried, we could find out who had done it, and we could make sure they got killed. And we considered that as a real option. And the second option was that we felt that if blacks in Alabama had the right to vote, that they could protect black children. And we deliberately made a choice and chose the second option.